In tonight's Tax Insider, internet taxes. Last week, Congress approved a measure to permanently bar state and local governments from taxing access to the internet. It passed with some bipartisan support. The White House says President Obama will sign it, but the devil is in the details. For more, I'm joined by David Williams, president of the non-partisan Taxpayers Protection Alliance. Dave, before we get to those details, what are internet access taxes? How do they work? And where are they collected?
So basically, internet access taxes, think of them like a wireless tax where you pay, depending on where you live, a certain percentage of a wireless tax. In Baltimore, it's 25%. Other places, it's like 10, 15, or 16%. So this is what internet access taxes would be. It's that state and locals would be putting on this access tax to just accessing the internet. This is just to log on, and it would be a monthly fee, and it would be about 10, 15, 20, maybe $30 a month for consumers.
What an awful idea.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now those states need to phase out internet access taxes by the summer of 2020. The nonpartisan Congressional Research Service says they account for a combined $563 million in revenue a year. So how will those states make up the difference?
Well, Morris, that's right. Right now, there are 7 states that have been grandfathered into access taxes, and they're going to have to get rid of those taxes now. And the 7 states are Hawaii, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Texas. I think I got all 7 of them. But so you mentioned the $500 million that they're going to lose in revenue.
Right.
What we say is cut spending.
Right.
Go through your budgets, cut spending, don't raise taxes. Whenever you have a fiscal problem in a state, we say cut the spending, find the waste. There's plenty of it. One of the states I didn't mention, West Virginia, they don't have an access tax, but we identified $300 million in excess spending. So imagine Texas. There's more than enough to make up for what they're would be collecting anyway.
You bet. All right, some lawmakers like Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid are unhappy with this bill. He says it's full of missed opportunities and half measures. It omitted a more controversial proposal to let states force online retailers to collect sales taxes for their transactions. Tell us more about that.
Well, first of all, is Harry Reid ever happy?
No.
I've never seen him happy, but basically what he wants is the Marketplace Fairness Act. This is an internet sales tax. So think of it this way, Mars. If you live in Virginia and you sell, if you're an online retailer and you sell to someone inside Virginia, you collect the state sales tax. But if someone from California buys your stuff, let's say I sell hair products, and if someone from California buys my hair products and I live in Virginia, I don't have to pay the sales tax. Well, the person doesn't have to pay the sales tax on those products because it's an onerous regulation. Because if I'm here in Virginia and I have to pay taxes in all the other 49 states in the District of Columbia, Morris, that's 10,000 different tax jurisdictions that I have to figure out of what to pay and where to pay, and it would be just a huge mess.
You're exactly right. So it's too much for them to expect to keep track of. Now, does this give online retailers an unfair advantage, though, compared to traditional brick and mortar stores? That's the argument we hear.
That is the argument, but I would counter it by saying that if we had an internet sales tax, it would really swing the favor into brick and mortar because online retailers are small. These are mom and pop, stores that are trying to sell their goods, and it would cost them so much money, and it would swing it back to the brick and mortar. Right now, what's happening are brick and mortar stores are actually selling online. I know it's shocking that they're selling their goods online. So we're seeing kind of a meeting in the middle here of the two, and this really, I think, evens the playing field to make sure that online retailers aren't taxed.
What about Amazon? We're seeing they're kind of in the middle because they're starting some brick and mortar stores. They're huge when it comes to the internet sales, as we know.
Well, they started out in opposition to the Marketplace Fairness Act because they didn't have a physical presence in these states where they would collect the taxes. Now they're for it. Now they support the Marketplace Fairness Act because they have a physical presence and they don't want to compete with online retailers. So it really depends upon which companies benefit from which, and that's why we look at it from a taxpayer point of view. And we don't want to expand the powers of tax jurisdictions across this country. I mean, this gives each state tax jurisdiction more and more power, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Now, before you go, Dave, I'd like to point out a trade provision contained in this bill. It opposes the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel that uses the phrase Israeli-controlled territories. Now, what does that mean, and does it have anything to do with internet access taxes?
This has nothing to do with internet access taxes. And Morris, we have talked about this time and time again, is when we pass legislation in this country, it should be standalone legislation. Is pass internet access taxes by itself, deal with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by itself. Don't conflate the two. Don't bring the two together, because it's really bad policy. But we have seen this in the past where they try to put everything together, jumble everything together, and then have the president sign it. We were lucky, Morris, we were lucky to get the internet access tax extended indefinitely, the permanent moratorium. So let's not mess with that. Let's be happy and not try to mix all these other things in with it.
Well, the reason they do that, the politicians want you to take the good with the bad with the good, confuse everybody, and then poof, it becomes passed. No wonder we've got this insurgency in politics this year.
Exactly.
David Williams, president of the Nonpartisan Taxpayers Protection Alliance. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.